I've made over $100,000 with my online business at the age of 17, and today I'm going to share exactly how I did it so you can just copy me. Now, before I tell you what I did to get to this point, let me first tell you what I didn't do. I didn't start a business, at least not at first, because a business A requires capital to start, and B, even if I did have the capital initially, I wouldn't even know where to begin to actually start a successful business. Instead, I chose to work freelance jobs in the industry that I eventually wanted to start a business in. This would help me make money that I could use to start my business later, and would also allow me to learn how the people that hired me ran their businesses so I could just copy them later. I knew that I eventually wanted to grow YouTube channels for brands and creators, so I started running a small YouTube channel myself and doing video editing so that I could eventually get hired by YouTubers. Which, by the way, is way easier said than done no matter what industry you're trying to get into. I soon learned that there was no shortcut to success if I wanted to go down this path. I was working 15-hour days on my laptop, not doing anything fun most days, and granted, we were in the middle of a pandemic, but regardless, if you're young, you have so much time available to you after school, you don't have responsibilities. To be totally honest with you, it's my opinion that you should take advantage of it like I did. However, I wouldn't necessarily recommend ditching your entire social life like I did, because it took a while for me to get those friends and social skills back, which I'm very happy I did. But also realize that it's okay sometimes to sacrifice fun for work as long as it's in moderation and in balance, just like everything should be. If you have a bit of extra money from working a part-time job or from grandma sending you 20 bucks on Christmas, I would definitely use that to invest into your development initially as well. Good courses and mastermind groups, mind you, make sure they're good courses and mastermind groups, can really speed up the time it takes for you to learn things on your own 100x. This is one thing I regret not doing when I was first starting out, and to be honest, I could have saved myself months, if not years, of learning if I had just spent a bit of money on learning stuff initially. As I got good at YouTube and video editing, I realized that I needed to set up a separate social media profile for my YouTube so people could see my work. My goal was to get hired eventually as a video editor, and my YouTube channel didn't really advertise me as such. So I started a Twitter and threw up a portfolio of work from my channel as well as clients' channels in the form of video posts. This allowed me to more easily connect with other YouTubers and video editors, and as I continued to post my work and interact with others, my reputation as a video editor and humble YouTuber began to grow. Instagram is another really good platform to post your work that I personally didn't take advantage of when I was first starting out, but its usefulness for you will really just depend on where people in your industry are. For example, there are definitely YouTubers on Instagram, but most of them, and especially the YouTube strategists and video editors, show their work on Twitter. On the flip side, Instagram has way more activity than Twitter for, I don't know, female models. So it really, again, just depends where your people are. Also, remember that anyone can see what you post on the internet, and even if you delete a post, it's realistically there forever. So you're going to want to make sure you present yourself well on whatever platforms you choose to use. If you can, avoid politics just so you don't alienate like half of your customer base. Be calm, cool, collected, and don't start stupid arguments because it makes you look unprofessional. And take good photos of yourself for all of your social media so you strike a good first impression. Soon enough, with the growth of both my YouTube and my other socials, I began to make more and more connections in the space. This eventually allowed me to get hired for my first few small video editing jobs. And granted, I didn't make that much money, but I also really wasn't worried about picking up the pennies now. I wanted the dollars at the end of the road, and if that metaphor doesn't make sense to you, all it means is that I was thinking long term. I had no work experience outside of editing my own videos, so realistically, the amount of money I could potentially make wasn't that much anyway. So instead, I offered people to work for very cheap or free to make it a no-brainer for them to hire me, because who's going to turn that down when I also have a decent portfolio? And because I had spent hours and hours practicing and getting good at video editing, I did a really good job for them. This meant I could make my portfolio and socials even better, charge more for jobs, and work for bigger and bigger YouTubers. And don't get me wrong, the money was nice, but the biggest benefit of being connected to all these big YouTubers and working for them was that they would introduce me to their friends. One day, I found myself in the DMs of a YouTuber with about 10,000 subscribers, and then he went on to add me to a Discord server with 30 other creators ranging in sizes of 100K, 500K, and even over 1 million subscribers. Joining these networks and working for YouTubers that were way smarter than than me helped me learn exactly how to run my business like they were. As I built strong relationships with the YouTubers that hire me, I began to be able to ask them questions, join team meetings, and I would really just observe their strategy to find success in their industry. You can literally copy this process for any business you want to start. Just get a useful skill, work your way up to working with the biggest business owners in your space, and then learn their secrets and copy what they do. This is exactly why I didn't start a business in the beginning, because a few years into the journey, I was able to respectfully and with proper notice quit my editing jobs and start my current business of growing YouTube channels for brands and creators. Having worked as a freelance video editor and learned from some of the smartest YouTubers in the space for so long, I had an edge over basically everybody else trying to start the business that I was starting. I quickly cemented myself as a reputable YouTube strategist, and with the money that I had accumulated doing video editing jobs, I was also able to build a super talented and strong team to beat out all of my competitors. Soon after, I was able to get my first few clients using an easy step-by-step system that I'll share with you in detail right now. The whole point of starting a business in the first place is to make a lot of money and not have to work harder if you want to make more money. If you have to work harder and more hours to make more money 100% of the time, then you don't have a business, you have a job. And don't get me wrong, there's actually nothing wrong with having a job. Even if it's the dreaded 9 to 5 most people my age think will ruin their life. Because without construction workers, doctors, police officers, and an assortment of other 9 to 5 jobs, people like you and me wouldn't be able to even start a business in the first place. So you should be grateful. Businesses, unlike jobs, use employees so that you don't have to waste your time doing labor, and you can instead focus on making important decisions for the business and scaling. Employees can also get really good at specific tasks that you make them specialize in, which you could never do if you're trying to be a jack of all trades and do everything yourself in your business. So using the money that I had made from editing videos, I hired a few designers and editors so that I could spare myself 50 plus hours a week editing videos and making thumbnails, and instead could spend my time trying to get clients and managing the team. Since then, my team has obviously expanded to match my client base, and I now also have a business partner, but that's a story for another time. But you'll probably want to do the exact same thing with your business. Find tasks that take the most labor in your business, and if they aren't things that you have to do yourself, then just outsource them. This gives you time to focus on scaling your business and also means that you won't have to work all of the time if you plan ahead, which gives you freedom, which I promise you is way better than having any amount of money. Finding employees isn't even that hard either if you're well connected in your industry. In fact, the first ever video editor that I hired for my business was literally a friend I had just been introduced to while I was a video editor myself. What is hard though is getting customers, and in business we do this through a process called lead generation. A lead is just a word to describe a potential customer. And there are two types of lead gen, inbound and outbound. I promise this is important, so bear with me. Inbound means people find you through social media, ads, or whatever else that doesn't require you to reach out to them first. For my business, this involves people contacting us through our website, social media, or through a friend's referral. Outbound, on the other hand, means that you're the one reaching out. Think like door-to-door salesman. For me, this is messaging people on Instagram and Twitter, and also a bit of email outreach nowadays. With outbound lead gen, we can label leads as warm or cold. Warm just means the lead knows who you are and likes you, and cold means they don't know who you are. For example, emailing a complete stranger is cold outbound, and messaging someone who follows my Instagram is warm outbound. It's important to know this because it's a lot easier to sell stuff to people with warm outbound than it is cold outbound because they're familiar with you. But there is also an infinite number of people you can send a cold DM or email to that could turn into a customer later, so they both have their pros and cons, and my business does a good mix of both. Inbound leads are great because most of the time they're warm if they found you through social media. My business partner and I use YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram to get inbound leads. YouTube is great because it revolves around long form videos where viewers are exposed to you for the longest time out of any other platform, which oftentimes means they're also the warmest leads. One 8-minute long YouTube video is the equivalent of like 32 TikToks, if not more. And in 2024, YouTube had over 2.7 billion active monthly users, which, based on upwards trends in the last 5 years, shows no signs of slowing down. For your business, you'll probably want to be using social media in some capacity to generate leads and exposure for your business. Everyone's on social media nowadays, and if you learn how the different algorithms work, you can easily use social media to generate a ton of inbound leads without leaving your chair. But of course, you can leave your chair if you want to. Sorry, that was pretty corny. Once you've generated a bunch of leads, you'll then have to convert them into customers. For my business partner and I, this means delivering a ton of free value on as many platforms as possible to get as many people exposed to us as possible. And then when they eventually need our help growing their channel, they hit us up because they know we're reputable and like us because we've given them so much free help. For you, this could be any number of things. What works for me probably doesn't also work for you. It's just something you'll have to figure out as time passes because we simply just run different businesses. This whole process of becoming a freelancer, learning the secrets of your bosses, copying them, and then closing a ton of customers is only one piece of the puzzle. In addition to this, there are two more crucial steps that I took to make my first 100K online that you won't want to miss. The first is networking. I've met somewhere in the realm of 17 millionaires in the last few years. And in addition to these millionaires, I have some kind of connection to basically everybody in my industry, which is like the YouTube strategy space. Especially in a few private networks that I'm a part of, there's so much value and information that I wouldn't be able to get otherwise that I'd recommend you to do the same. I've been able to save myself years of failing and learning via networking. And it's out of the scope of this particular video, but I'll make a video about how I met those 17 millionaires so that you can network effectively too in the future. The second step is placing a value on education because believe it or not, going to high school has made my business way more money than it would have otherwise. I see a lot of kids nowadays, probably because of social media, talk about how useless school is and how they want to escape the matrix and move to Dubai in 2 months with their new business. They say school is a waste of time, school is in the matrix, school doesn't teach you anything useful about life. And granted, I do know plenty of successful people, including people my age that have dropped out of school and made a ton of money because of it. And yeah, if I were to drop out myself, I probably have a lot more time to work on my business. But there's also a ton of value school has given me personally that I'd either have to pay for or just simply wouldn't be able to get anywhere else otherwise. No copywriting course is going to teach you to write as well as school will, even if you're not constantly writing sales pages for your business for your exams in English. School also helps you learn to talk to people, work in teams, and think critically. And for me, all three of these things that I wouldn't really have been able to get anywhere else have helped me make my first $100,000 online. I also see a lot of young entrepreneurs around my age completely ignore having a social life and just cut everybody off. But like I said earlier in this video, I promise you're going to want to have some kind of balance. At least for me, the whole point of making a lot of money is so that I can have freedom and do cool things that I want to do when I want. Yeah, sometimes that means I have to put my head down so I can do cool stuff later, but other days it means I finish all of my work in the morning and then just go have fun in the evening because, again, it's the great thing about having a business. You don't have to work all the time. You can be free. You can have a lot of money. But that's just my opinion. Let me know what you think in the comments.